Take the exit. Turn right into the drive-thru.
Nope, I'm making dinner tonight.
You don't have time. Josh has practice.
Oh, that's right. I'll just get a salad.
And fries?
No, just the salad.
But salad cancels fries.
Salad only.
Fries.
Salad.
Fries.
Food noise isn't fair, but Mochi Health is. The affordable GLP-1 source that puts you on the road to successful weight loss.
Hey, can I get the...
Fries.
Salad. Sorry.
Learn more at joinmochi.com. Mochi members have access to licensed physicians and nutritionists. Results may vary.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Voices for Justice is a podcast that uses adult language and discusses sensitive and potentially triggering topics, including violence, abuse, and murder. This podcast may not be appropriate for younger audiences. All parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Some names have been changed or omitted per their request or for safety purposes. Listener discretion is advised. My name is Sarah Turney, and this is Voices for Justice. Today, I'm discussing the case of Lisa McBride from Vernon, New Jersey. When 27-year-old Lisa went missing in 1990, action was taken immediately. She was reported missing within hours of last being seen. The police and prosecutor's office began working the case immediately, and seemingly all resources were used in the search and investigation to find her, including a $100,000 reward. No investigation is perfect, but Lisa seemed really close. Which leaves me asking the question, with a nearly perfect response, a ton of resources, and help from law enforcement and the local community, how is her case still unsolved nearly 3 decades later? This is the case of Lisa McBride. Lisa was that girl. She was beautiful but down to earth and had nearly everything going for her. She attended West Milford High School, where she found really great success in her dance troupe. They were called the New Generation of Dancers. It was made up of 8 dancers who performed ballet, tap, jazz, and modern dance. And they were good. So good that they all traveled to Romania when Lisa was just 16 years old to perform. She graduated from high school in 1981 and went on to take 2 years of courses at Rider College, now known as Rider University in New Jersey. By 1990, she'd bought and fixed up a home in the Highland Lakes neighborhood of Vernon, New Jersey. Her friends helped her paint and complete the landscaping. While she worked as an executive secretary at the Lakeland State Bank, she also taught ballet classes on the side, and was affectionately known by her students as Miss Lisa. She dreamed of maybe opening her own studio one day. But dance wasn't her only passion. Lisa was also a competitive shooter and avid hiker. Like I said, it seemed like Lisa was that girl. Beauty, brains, muscles, she had it all. She was also described as incredibly kind and empathetic. She was always bringing in stray animals and had 2 cats of her own. And she was a good daughter. She went to go see her parents, George and Norma McBride, at least once a week. They lived about 30 minutes away in Newton, where her father owned and operated a plastics plant. By the time Lisa was 27, in the spring of 1990, her brother Douglas had his first child, and asked Lisa to be the godmother. By all accounts, she was extremely happy. She dated when the opportunity was right, but wasn't really looking to get married. She was more focused on just figuring out her career path and creating a happy life for herself. Really, the only complaint I found about Lisa in my research was that she was pretty hard to get a good picture of, because she was always making silly faces. And one of her mom's last memories was of exactly this. On Thursday, June 21st, 1990, Lisa's parents were hosting some friends at their home, and Lisa came over for a visit. While her mom was taking pictures of everyone there, she kind of joked that she wasn't taking her picture. So Norma snaps what she doesn't realize will be the last photo she'll ever take of her daughter. The next night, on Friday, June 22nd, Lisa and 3 of her friends drive about an hour and a half into Manhattan to the Beacon Theater. They're going to go see a country concert. They have a good time, but they're not quite ready to end their night. So they stop at Big John's pub in West Milford for a little nightcap. Lisa's seen by several witnesses talking and just having a good time. And she's kind of socializing with everyone. She runs into 3 old friends that she shares her phone number with. But Lisa does have to work in the morning. So after having 3 beers, she says her goodbyes and leaves at about 1:30 a.m. She drives home alone. And there is some conflicting reporting here about how many people saw her arrive home, but at least one neighbor sees her get out of her car and go into her house at about 2 a.m. Really, just a few hours later at 7:30 a.m., Lisa's coworkers are trying to call her to see where she's at. She'd never missed a day of work in all 3 years that she'd been at the bank, and now they can't get a hold of her. So they don't hesitate. They immediately contact her family to let them know that Lisa didn't show up and that no one can get a hold of her. At about 10 a.m., Lisa's brother Douglas gets to Lisa's house to see what's going on. I mean, she went to a concert the night before. We know that she only had 3 beers, but maybe she was hungover, or sick, or something. Lisa lived alone with just her 2 cats, so there's no roommate to confirm with either. And it's 1990, so no one has a cell phone. Douglas's really only choice is to go over there to see what's going on. And the first thing that he notices is that Lisa's car was in the driveway. It's a good sign. But when he lets himself in using a spare key, it's immediately clear that something was very wrong. Even though Lisa's car is in the driveway, her purse and keys are gone. He also notices that for some reason, Lisa's couch has been pulled about 6 inches away from the wall. And when he makes it to Lisa's bedroom, he sees that the light on her dresser is still on. But all the sheets and blankets from her bed are gone, completely missing from the house. And he only finds one of Lisa's cats. The second cat, who was extremely skittish around men, was gone. Again, he knows something is really wrong here. And there is some conflicting reporting about who found what. In some reports, it says Douglas found what I'm about to tell you next. And in others, it says the police. Either way, throughout searching the home, they find even more. When they began looking around the outside of Lisa's house, they saw that her phone line had been cut. They also see that the screen on one of her windows had 2 large slashes in it, large enough for a person to get through. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Chewy. If you have pets, you probably know about Chewy, and you also know that when they say that they have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy, they're not messing around. To keep them happy, Chewy has over 100,000 products from all the brands my pets love at prices I love. To keep them healthy, Chewy offers pet prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and they're even rolling out vet clinics across the country. I've been shopping with them for a very long time. And in addition to the auto ship feature that gets the dog's food to them every single month, I also love to experiment with different treats. But I'm a bit picky. For me, it has to be high quality with simple ingredients. I recently picked up treats from Shepherd Boy Farms that are 100% just chicken breast. Popcorn and Heber are already obsessed. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. And right now, you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney. That's chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney to save $20 on your first order with free shipping. chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details. This episode of Voices for Justice is brought to you by Quince. I've been trying to be more intentional about what I wear each day. I'm leaning into pieces that feel effortless, comfortable, and still put together, and Quince has been my go-to. The fabrics feel elevated, the fits are flattering, and everything just works without overthinking it. They use premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra-soft denim. And the best part? Everything is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup. I recently just ordered their tiered linen dress, of course in black. I wanted to pair it with one of my favorite pairs of brown wedges. The problem was, I didn't have a brown purse. So I got that from Quince too. It's one of my favorite outfits. It's easy, effortless, and feels amazing, especially as we're getting a little bit warmer here in Phoenix. Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/justice for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/justice for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/justice.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
Police immediately suspect foul play in Lisa's case. Now, I'll warn you that they are keeping a lot of information withheld from the public. But as far as we know, there was no blood or anything resembling a homicide crime scene in Lisa's home. At this point, they believe that Lisa was likely abducted. And like I told you in the introduction of this episode, police were on the case immediately. Quickly, a 17-member task force was assembled, made up of the FBI, state police, and local Sussex County investigators. They set up a dedicated command trailer right next to the Vernon police station. Lisa's parents also set up a dedicated phone line for tips about their daughter. And George paid his employees at the plastics plant to halt production and pump out Lisa's missing person flyer. Lisa McBride, 27 years old, 5'7", 135 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. Last seen wearing blue jeans, a white shirt with a shoelace-type black tie in the back. Her family also put up a $100,000 reward for her safe return. Her case was picked up by the media immediately. She was featured on TV, in the newspaper, and investigators were getting a ton of tips. But none of them led to Lisa. It's been reported that her brother Douglas was consumed by his sister's disappearance, and he spent much of his time searching the woods by her house for her. I know that not all families have the resources that Lisa's did, but I think it's really commendable to see a family do literally everything within their power to find their loved one. And law enforcement seemed incredibly grateful for their help too. In all the reporting I found on Lisa's case, her parents always praise their efforts and say that they were kept informed every step of the way. Of course, the entire situation isn't ideal, but I would say that the response really was. And of course, while there were extensive searches for Lisa, law enforcement was working the investigation as well. They quickly eliminated the friends that Lisa went to the concert with that night. But while they were speaking to Lisa's friend group, investigators became increasingly concerned about a man that had been pursuing her for a date rather aggressively, to the point that Lisa expressed concern. This man, who has never been named by law enforcement, had asked Lisa on several dates. He showed up at her work and left flowers on her car. This is obviously someone they want to talk to. The problem was, they couldn't find him. So this lead just kind of sits. In the first few weeks after Lisa goes missing, investigators conduct over 500 interviews, and really don't come up with much. In July, they followed up on a report of a woman who was either pushed out of or fell out of a moving car. She matched Lisa's description, but it was another dead end. Her family also stayed near Lisa's home, using food to try to lure back her missing cat, but they never came back. Lisa's flyers are sent all around the country and to Canada, But summer turns to fall and there's still no sign of her anywhere. So they plan another massive search. About 200 people plan to search 30,000 acres of land in Vernon and West Milford. They'd plan to search Wawayanda State Park and the Newark watershed. Everything was set up for October 20th. That morning, the volunteers get up, get dressed, and ready to do this massive search. But that very same day, just hours before they were set to begin, Lisa was found. At 9:30 a.m., a hunter named Robert Cole was birdwatching just off the Delaware River about 30 miles from Lisa's home, and he saw what he immediately recognized as human remains. He says that he ran out of the wooded area looking for a park ranger to help, but couldn't find anyone. So he leaves, contacts the state police, and he leads them back to Lisa. She was nude, and her remains were nearly skeletal. 12 hours later, Lisa was officially identified using dental records. And investigators from the prosecutor's office traveled to George and Norma McBride's home to tell them in person that their daughter had been found. When Norma heard the news, she collapsed. It wasn't the outcome anyone was hoping for. Very little has been released about Lisa's death, but we know that whoever did this didn't try to conceal her body with brush or debris. Her cheekbone was fractured, likely from blunt force trauma, and she was murdered. Investigators believe Lisa was killed shortly after she went missing and later placed in this area. There was no indication that Lisa had visited this spot in the past, and it was mostly frequented by hunters and not visible from the road, mostly being covered by pine trees. I found in early reporting in this case that metal detectors were used by investigators, but what, if anything, was found hasn't been released. Lisa was laid to rest next to her grandparents in Restland Memorial Park in East Hanover in November. By 1991, police tell The Record that they believe that they've likely talked to Lisa's killer at this point. They just couldn't pinpoint exactly who. But they hoped that by withholding so much information from the public, it would lead to a slam-dunk prosecution when that day came. Of course, investigators and everyone was still wondering who could have done this. Specifically, if the persistent man Lisa was concerned about did this. He was suspect number one in the media. And again, they have kept the details vague, but eventually they get in contact with one of Lisa's friends who happened to write down the man's license plate number. That makes Lisa's anonymous friend who had the foresight to write down that license plate number our hero of this week's episode. They found the man. Investigators won't say where, only that he was, quote, out west, end quote, and he had a solid alibi for the night Lisa went missing and was likely killed. It was another dead end, but with their main suspect eliminated, it meant that they were one step closer to finding whoever did this. But again, you guys, what, if any, progress was made hasn't been shared with the public. By 2003, investigators had conducted over 1,500 interviews in this case. They consulted with the FBI to compare notes on similar cases, and they consulted with psychics. In a 2003 interview with The Record, Norma McBride says that she thought it was entirely possible that Lisa's killer was local, living among them, that it could be someone they know. It was honestly really heartbreaking to go through all the reports about Lisa over the years. Her parents did often give interviews. You can see a clear progression of them losing hope over the years. And I don't blame them. But investigators kept trying. That same year, a new detective was assigned to her case. And in 2004, Sussex County forms a dedicated cold case unit, just to work 6 cases, including Lisa's. At this point, 14 years had passed since Lisa was murdered. And they really hoped that with all these advances in technology, it would lead them to finally cracking the case. They specifically mention advances in DNA evidence gathering, database recording, ballistics identification, and being able to lift fingerprints from items like leather and cloth. But Lisa's killer isn't identified. And by 2010, her case file fills up 2 cabinets at the prosecutor's office. George McBride passed away in 2015, and Norma just 3 years later in 2018, never knowing what happened to their daughter. But again, as more time passes and technology advances, investigators aren't ready to give up on finding Lisa's killer. And in 2022, over 30 years later, they get the green light to exhume Lisa's body.
What they did to your family, you're lucky to make it out alive.
Streaming on Peacock.
These men are going to come after me. Taking them out is my only chance.
Put a bullet in her head.
From the co-creator of Ozark.
Looks like a family was running drugs.
Execution-style killing is rare for the Keys. And it leads on who they might have been running for.
The cartel killed my family. I'm gonna kill them. All of them.
MIA. Streaming now. Only on Peacock.
As is a theme in this case, we don't have many details about this. Only that they felt it was a necessary step in their investigation, and that they took some type of DNA evidence. Though they do say that they don't have reason to believe that more than one person was involved in Lisa's murder. So take that for what you will. The DNA is sent off to Bodie's lab in Virginia. And that's where Lisa's case is today. The results of the testing, what they tested, we don't know. We only know that they have not announced that Lisa's killer has been found. So, what happened to Lisa McBride? In my research, I found statements from law enforcement saying that they believe whoever killed Lisa was familiar with the area, that there were only so many ways to get in and out of Lisa's community in Highland Lakes, and that they were not easy to navigate. But I found another statement from law enforcement saying that they felt like the killer didn't need knowledge of where they moved Lisa's body after she was killed. They say this area where Lisa was found was close to the river and Dingman's Ferry Bridge. Basically, you just turn off the road and it feels like you're in the middle of nowhere. So maybe they were familiar with the area where she lived and not familiar with where they put her? I don't know. No one who knew Lisa could think of anyone who might want to harm her. And we know the man asking her out on dates was cleared. She didn't have a significant other and she wasn't dating anyone. The other unsolved homicides in the area didn't seem to be a match with Lisa's case either. All we're left with is speculation. But we know that she likely would have had many ways to defend herself. I told you earlier in the episode that Lisa was athletic. She hiked and she taught ballet. After over a decade of dancing, I think it's pretty safe to assume that she was pretty agile and flexible. She was also a competitive shooter, which leads me to believe that there was likely at least one gun in her home. I think it's possible that whoever did this was waiting for Lisa to get home that night. Cut the phone line, cut the screen, and crawled through the window. Whoever it was scared off one of her cats and they sat and waited for her to get home so that she didn't have time to grab her gun. Though it's also entirely possible that they did all of that after Lisa got home and went to bed. Obviously, with her bed sheets and all her blankets being gone, I think it's very likely that something happened to Lisa on her bed, and whoever did this took and disposed of them to help cover their tracks. What gives me hope in Lisa's case is that investigators say they have the evidence they need to prosecute whoever killed her. They just need that last piece of the puzzle to identify who that person is. Which brings me right to our call to action. Of course, I'm going to ask you to share Lisa's case. While it did receive a lot of media coverage when she first went missing, that has of course dwindled greatly over the years. And really, nobody seems to be talking about her case anymore. But I'm also going to ask that when you share Lisa's case, you mention 2 crucial pieces of evidence that have never been recovered. Lisa's black medium-sized oval purse and the metal keychain that was attached. This keychain is one of a kind. It's a brass nameplate with Lisa's nickname engraved on it, Weesa, which is spelled W-E-E-S-A. I think it's really possible that whoever did this either kept or tried to hide the keychain somewhere, as opposed to taking the time to melt it down. I think of all the evidence that's missing in this case after all these years, that is the item that's most likely to be found and the easiest to identify. It could be in someone's attic, found during construction. I mean, it could show up at a thrift store. I know it's a long shot, but we've definitely seen crazier things happen in true crime. That keychain might just be the last piece of the puzzle investigators need to finally get answers in Lisa's case. So please share. As a reminder, Lisa McBride was 27 years old when she went missing from Vernon, New Jersey on Saturday, June 23, 1990. She was likely killed shortly after. She was white with brown hair and brown eyes, was 5'7" and weighed approximately 135 pounds. She was last seen wearing blue jeans and a white shirt with a shoelace-type black tie in the back. Anyone with information is asked to call the Sussex County Prosecutor's Office at 973-383-1570. But, as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time. Voices for Justice is hosted and produced by me, Sarah Turney, and is a Voices for Justice media original. If you love what we do here, please don't forget to follow, rate, and review the show in your podcast player. It's an easy and totally free way to help us and help more people find these cases in need of justice. Welcome to the Secret After Show. I'm already crying. I've tried to record this intro a few times. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was sobbing the first time, and I am trying my best. If you follow me on social media, you know that we lost one of our emotional support puppies less than a week ago. As you guys know, Marley was 18, and I took a week off for my birthday, for the release of Alyssa's documentary, and in that time, it's like Marley just let go. I'm gonna have to pause this several times to collect myself because I don't want to be sobbing into the microphone and want to get my words out clearly. I just want you guys to know that it was peaceful. You know, Marley was a very, very senior pup, and he went to the emergency room close to his birthday in September, and while I thought he was getting better and we had such a good week before, like I said, you know, I think he just let go. And I'm very grateful that it was peaceful. I got Marley when I was 18. I did not make the right choice, but I was so young and I walked into a puppy store and all I wanted was a small white puppy. I only looked at him, and I'll never forget when I walked in, and I said, I want to see him. He's really cute. The attendant said, oh yeah, he's really, really nice. He's a really sweet puppy. We just got him. And Marley bit the absolute crap out of my hand. I said on Instagram like it was a cheeseburger. He was trying to eat it. And I thought it was so cute that he was so little and so cute and so ferocious. And I didn't look at a single other dog. I said, I want him. And he was so young that I couldn't even take him home. He had just gotten there. And he had to go through like I guess he wasn't too young. He had to go through the isolation period to make sure that he didn't have any diseases or whatever. I had to wait, I think it was like 48 hours before I could go get him. And I went and saw him every day. When I brought him home, I lied to my dad. I thought he was going to be mad. I had already brought home a dog before that. So Marley made 3 dogs. I was always picking up dogs that needed help or homes. And so I hid Marley. And I remember Marley would cry if he wasn't touching me when he was sleeping. So I slept on the ground with him for, I think, a few weeks before I couldn't take the stress of it anymore of lying to my dad. And I finally said, I lied again. And I said, Dad, I found this dog on the side of the road in a box. And, we have to keep him. What are we supposed to do? And he said, Sarah, that dog is going to get so big. I can tell he's going to be like 100 pounds. And of course, Marley was a little Pekingese poodle who only reached about 15 pounds. And I said, I don't think so, Dad. I think he's going to stay pretty little. And before I knew it, Marley was fully adopted into the family. And, for all my father's faults, there was no real objection there. And Marley was extremely loved. And of course, as you guys know, a part of Marley's lore is that he was there the day of the raid, and he was officially the dog that didn't exist. I've told this story a few times, but I am taking a little moment here for Marley. So if you want to fast forward, I totally get it. But I got to get his story out. When they raided the house and I got back, I saw my 2 dogs, the 2 big dogs, Logan and Teddy. And I said, where's the third one? There was a small white dog here. And the police promptly told me that, not that they didn't see a dog, like their exact verbiage was, that dog does not exist. That dog, we didn't see a dog. There was no dog. He didn't exist. Literally they used the verbiage, that dog doesn't exist. And I lost my mind. I was so calm and cool and collected, until they told me that Marley didn't exist. And I freaked out. I was like, how can you do this? I'm suing everybody. I was 19, you guys, please forgive me. No, I just turned 20. Sorry, just turned 20. And I was so mad. I was like, this is insane. You can't just lose people's dogs like this. I'm suing everybody. What's your badge number? And they took it for what it was. And I had to leave. I gathered all of Marley's things. But I stayed behind the police tape and I was sobbing, crying his name. I wouldn't leave without him. I'd sent the 2 other dogs with my brother. Luckily, he came to pick them up, but I stayed behind and refused to leave. I was like, I will sleep in my car. I don't care. And I remember sitting by the neighbor's house next to my red eclipse and I was sobbing. And I was thinking, I don't care if I never see my dad again, which was probably horrible for the time, not so much now. I don't care if I ever see my dad again. I just want to see Marley. And it was a few seconds later, I swear it sounds made up. He came out of the neighbor's bush. He'd been hiding in there the whole time because he was terrified. It turns out that my dad, which I always told him not to do this, took Marley off a leash out to go, get the mail. And that's when they got my dad. And Marley must have run and hid in the neighbor's yard that whole time. But we were reunited. Marley's lore runs deep. He survived a SWAT. He lived to 18 years old. Marley was truly the best. And I'm not going to keep going on and on because I will cry. I just want to say thank you for all the love I've gotten, all the love for him. I've gotten so many messages about you guys saying that your pets are going to help him cross over. I love you guys. Rest in peace, Marley. All right, I took another little breather, and I want to say, of course, as if losing Marley wasn't enough, within just a few days of that, the documentary about Alyssa premiered. There's a lot I want to tell you about that I can't right now. I'll just say that it is available on Peacock, and it's called Family Secrets: The Disappearance of Alyssa Turney. And I also want to thank everybody who's been watching and reaching out to me, and just say that I really hope that it reaches a new audience for Alyssa. But enough about me. Let's go on and talk about Lisa's case. There are a few things I want to say about this case. One is wholly conflicting information. Who found what, if they thought people were familiar with the area or they didn't. There was a lot of conflicting information on this case, and conflicting information with the very little information that was provided. So I really hope I got it right. There's not a lot of resources out there anymore. Almost nobody has covered this case. It just really touched me. Not that I try to evaluate cases on like how good of a person the victim was. But it just, like I said in the beginning of the episode, it just compelled me, right? Like, Lisa was so well loved, so well liked. She was so athletic. She had everything going for her. And then, when she goes missing, she gets this nearly textbook perfect response, at least seemingly. I'm sure there's things behind the scenes. But from all the statements I read from her family, they were extremely happy with this investigation, which leads me to believe that it was pretty good. And of course, the response was immediate. She was reported missing within hours after last being seen. I think it's pretty rare that we see a case where things are just optimal in terms of the investigation. So yeah, that compelled me. Like, how is this case still unsolved with these nearly perfect set of circumstances? I thought it was pretty compelling. Outside of that, there were just a few things that I wanted to talk about that I thought were either weird or interesting. I will say that I was really surprised to see in the early reporting of Lisa's case that they printed her social security number on her flyers. I think that's just something I haven't come across yet. And at first I was like, ooh, I'm thinking identity theft. I'm like, oh no. But then I'm like, this is the 1990s. You know what I mean? Literally 1990. People aren't like jumping online to use a social security number anymore. And I wonder if it was almost helpful, if putting out a social security number is helpful, because if anybody tries to use it, it gets flagged. Probably very different now with the internet, because more people, more bad people, easier access to, do things with things like social security numbers versus back in the day where you're mailing documents, you're making phone calls. It's a little bit easier to track. So yeah, I would love to know your thoughts on that. Have you seen it in a case before? Have you seen it lead to a solve? Again, I was just really shocked to see a social security number on a missing persons flyer. Something that really touched me in this case was the hunter who found Lisa. These things are like always a little hard for me to work into the show, into the main episode, because they kind of feel like I'm getting sidetracked. But this man was approached by the media and immediately asked, what about the reward? Don't you want that reward money? And he did in the end get a portion of the reward. There were like a few levels of rewards throughout the years, but the biggest one was that $100,000 right up front. And he did get one of the rewards being offered. But when the media asked him about this, he was like, hey, like, these parents just went through like the worst thing they're ever going to go through. I'm not even thinking about that right now. I haven't asked them or asked anybody else. Like, that's not what this is about. And I just want to give a shout out to, again, Robert Cole. I don't know if you're still out there. I know the case is a little bit old now, But like, what a heart of gold. I just think that was really nice to see and wanted to call that out. I love when good people do good. On the flip side, let's talk about some people who didn't do very good in this case. And it was just this one thing. Like, most people were fantastic. The whole community came together, huge search parties. These organizations were coming out. Most people were really, really nice in this case. But I found these small tidbits about psychics, and it's always psychics. Why is it always psychics? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to overgeneralize, but there's a problem with psychics in the true crime community. It just is what it is. And what happened was psychics kept trespassing on Lisa's property, looking through the windows, and then saying that they were having visions of what was inside of Lisa's house to the police, basically, to try to like prove themselves. But then they kept getting caught looking in the windows. And at least it was mentioned in a plural aspect, as if it had happened more than once. So I just thought that was very interesting and very awful, and just something, that needs to be discussed in true crime. I think, and I don't know if these psychics approached Lisa's family, but I have seen so many families scammed by psychics, and they're not all bad. I'm not saying that. There are some that I think truly have a gift, that are fantastic. They're not trying to hurt anyone. But in true crime, whether it's psychics, it's PIs, a random person, saying that they have your person, families are sitting ducks to be taken advantage of like that. And so I just think it's important to talk about. And to whoever those psychics were looking through the window and pretending to have visions, you suck, and I do hope that you're listening. But let's end talking about Lisa's case on a hopeful note. I really think that if that keychain is found, it could be the key. And not that, obviously after all this time, it's not like touch DNA is going to be extremely helpful, or really, you couldn't prove it in court at this point, but gosh, let's just say it's like in somebody's attic and, someone's like, yeah, I remember, my grandpa used to live here, or that was from my I don't know. I think it could be traced back. And I stand by what I said about, the way that Lisa was put in that area, not being covered up at all, leads me to believe that this person was scared, possibly in a rush. And I don't know. I just think melting down the keychain would have been a really extreme step, and not something that everybody would know how to do. I don't know, maybe a hunter. Let me know what you guys think. I really think that this, again, it's a bronze keychain that has the word Weesa, Weesa, Lisa's nickname, engraved on it. I think out of all the evidence that might be remaining in this case, that really could be the key. So when you share, because I know you will, I know that you guys share every single case I ask you to share. I'm not going to question it. When you share, please share that. I think it could be really, really vital. But let's go on to our segment of hope. And I want to give a shout out to Darren. Thank you for sending this story my way. It's also a Season of Justice solve. I know you guys probably know, I feel like I need to say it every time. I am on the board of Season of Justice. It's a nonprofit that funds cold cases. Specifically, we give money to families and to law enforcement for testing. And our grant has resulted in a solve. And I'm so excited. I'm always so proud when Season of Justice gets a solve like this. Of course, it's not just us. It is with the very dedicated members of law enforcement who apply, who work with the labs, who they do all the work. We just give them the money, to be totally honest with you. But let's talk about it, because I think it's always good. I love talking about cases that have been solved after a really long time. One of the worst comments I see on social media that just like breaks my heart for families is, why are you covering old cases? Because they are solvable. And I will forever believe that, because it's true. And I think we have another example of that today. So, this is in the case of Kathy Halley from 1979 out of North Aurora, Illinois. Essentially, the North Aurora PD announced that I'm reading off seasonofjustice.org. It's a police press release with no author, so forgive me. But essentially it says the North Aurora PD announced the successful identification of the person who killed 19-year-old Kathy Halley as serial killer Bruce Lindahl. In May 2023, the North Aurora PD was awarded a grant from Season of Justice to fund advanced forensic testing and analysis by DNA Labs International, which ultimately led to investigators to identify Lindahl. A little bit about Kathy. In 1979, again, she was 19. Her remains were found in the Fox River, just south of I-88 in North Aurora, Illinois, after she'd been missing for about a month. But yeah, due to technology advancing, due to them getting the funding, they have solved the case. Now, this man is no longer living. He actually died in the early 1980s when he accidentally killed himself while stabbing another victim, which, sounds like karma to me. And I say that because this guy was absolutely awful, and they believe that he may be responsible for as many as 12 murders and 9 rapes. So again, while it doesn't, produce an arrest, this man died quite some time ago, it does provide answers for Kathy's loved ones. And that's why it makes our segment of hope. Even after all those years, 1979, you guys, they solved it. Again, there is always hope. And as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.